Welcome everyone back to another episode of Q&A with Sharon's son George. I was my mother's caregiver after she was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Sadly, she passed on 1/1/2020, but we started Together for Sharon.com in her memory and to advocate for a cure for all those still battling Parkinson's today and their families because no one is ever alone in this fight for a cure. Today's guest, someone I hope she knows now means the world to me. She is someone I admire and inspires me on the days that I kind of have rough going on in life and might give up. And then I look to her and realize that I can't give up because we still have so much work to be done. So welcome, doctor, to the show. And again, I'll have to say it several times, but it's really an honor.
Oh, thank you so much, George. It's really an honor for me to be here. And I'm really, thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, as we said kind of before the show, I did want the world to know, and they might already, the APDA means APDA means a lot to me because when my mother was struggling, it was unfortunately towards the end of her battle, which again, we weren't even aware why or what was going on. I called a few organizations, love them all, but it's almost like one of those, movies where you're kind of had the bad guys, and all of a sudden a shining light came and someone from the American Parkinson's Disease Association, Boca Raton or South Florida, showed up at her house. It doesn't matter that she was too far gone to do the program, but just to know that there was a voice who physically was there for us, something that a day I'll never forget. And I talk about it a lot. So our heart and family send our love to you and everyone there for all they do around the world.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad that APDA Florida was helpful to you in your time of need.
Well, maybe we could start today with if you could tell the audience a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so my name is Rebecca Gilbert. I am the Chief Mission Officer at American Parkinson Disease Association. I started as a Chief Scientific Officer 7 years ago and transitioned into this role. I'm also a movement disorders physician, and I see patients 1 day a week to keep it real, as they say. So I never too far from the challenges of people with Parkinson's disease.
I love that you're still practicing. I know I juggle some multiple hats, but seeing you do two means that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
We're almost like a circus juggling so many things, but the things you're doing is so important. Before we kind of share the beautiful website and more about the foundation, can you talk a little bit about some of your work experience, but the early signs of Parkinson's and non-motor symptoms? Because with my mother, she battled for 15 years. She didn't tell me anything about Parkinson's for 7. So I thought there was a word Parkinson. I didn't even know it was a disease. And as you probably know, we were told 15 medical professional doctors that you don't die of Parkinson's, you die with it. So in my mind, didn't realize we'd lose her at the young age of 69. And we tried everything. We would need a 7-hour show to go through. That's why we put the book out there, just because sometimes it's still tough to talk about. But the fact that you mentioned today that you're still out there in the office is really a beautiful thing. Maybe you could touch on those topics for a moment.
Yeah, so you raise a lot of really important issues. The first of which is that sometimes it's hard to make the diagnosis. And early on, there could be a whole host of things that are a little bit unclear, and people may come to the diagnosis kind of later than they had hoped. And one of the reasons for that is the disease can start subtly and can also start in areas that we don't typically consider to be part of this sort of classic Parkinson's disease profile. We think of Parkinson's disease as a movement disorder. So you have tremor, you have stiffness, you have slowness, you walk a certain way, and that's all true. But all those symptoms may actually be sort of late in the game. And earlier on, people may have what we call non-motor symptoms, symptoms that do not involve movement. And among those symptoms can be things that are pretty common in the general population, like constipation or depression or anxiety, or certain sleep disorders. And so a person may have these kind of subtle things that they're not too sure that there's anything particularly wrong, and that may be a heralding that later that Parkinson's may develop. But it's very tricky because you don't want to be scaring the whole population and saying, "Oh, if you have constipation, you're going to get Parkinson's." So there's a sort of a prodromal syndrome that we have to acknowledge, but we have to figure out how to harness the people who have the prodromal symptom without sort of expanding it too much to include too many people that may not develop Parkinson's. So it's a bit tricky. And that process is being worked out now by researchers. How to find the people that are really early, that have these sort of subtle symptoms that are not motor related and that will develop Parkinson's. How do we really find that group of people and study them and perhaps even do clinical trials in them to prevent something that may happen in the future? All that sounds kind of sci-fi right now, and it's really not. We're heading toward that, identifying those early people and being able to prevent potentially developing more. So really kind of an exciting time in Parkinson's research.
Yeah, I think it's a huge difference 10 years ago when we didn't have a lot of, we didn't even realize sports or exercise might slow the progression as we do today. And a lot of the areas you're mentioning are so important, and that's what the show is for, awareness only. We actually want to, if it's okay with you, any donations today, please make them directly to the American Parkinson's Disease Association. We need to support their programs and the amazing doctor, what she's doing around the world, because until there's a cure, we have a lot of work still to do. I say that a lot, unfortunately, but even through the tough times, I lost my best friend, mother. People like you inspire me to keep going. So there are, it's so ironic in a way, you say there's good things that come out of it, but there are. So, everyone says she's looking down. I think if she looked down, she would have told me, stop doing all this advocacy and stay with your family, because that, meant the world to her. But I appreciate you sharing that. Is there some, not effect, but something that might have occurred, in your background or life or even in practice that kind of helped you on your mission to help people with Parkinson's? Because that's not always easy. It's challenging, tough, as you know, better than anyone. And wonder if you could touch on that for a moment.
Yeah, this is a really great question. I think what when you're somebody who's with Parkinson's or a care partner of someone with Parkinson's or a physician of people with Parkinson's, what you're looking for are the small wins. Is today better? When I train residents and fellows that rotate with me, what I try the mantra that I try to project is, can we do better? We hear the story, the person may be doing okay. They're on a certain regimen of medication. They have some good time in their day. Maybe they don't have a lot of good time. Maybe we could tweak things. And I turn to my fellow and resident and say, can we do better? Is there anything we can do to improve the situation? And that, as you alluded to, can be very variable across the trajectory. We may be seeing somebody very early in their disorder. We may be seeing somebody very late, and really that entire trajectory. And so the answer to that question, can we do better, can be very, very different. So in the very beginning, so I'll give some examples. I will see somebody who really isn't very much affected by their Parkinson's at all. They have a tremor, and they come to get evaluated for why they have this tremor. And I am the one to have to tell this person, this young 55-year-old woman who's very, healthy otherwise, that she has Parkinson's disease. So how do I make her better? Well, perhaps I enroll her in a clinical trial for early Parkinson's that's exercise based, and such a trial exists. She's not on medication yet. Maybe I enroll her in that trial. That's how I make her better. And then I have somebody in the middle who is taking their medication, and 90% of the day is okay, but maybe they have some dyskinesias or extra movements that are kind of annoying. So how do I make that person better? Maybe we tweak medicines, maybe we add a medicine. Maybe this person was offered a medicine, but they couldn't get it because somebody didn't process a form correctly and they didn't get their insurance approval. Well, maybe making their day better is really getting that insurance approval. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's nothing to do with brilliance. Maybe it's nothing to do with knowing a ton about Parkinson's medicine. It's just kind of making that phone call and making sure that they can get that medicine that may help them. So maybe and then if you have somebody sort of more in the advanced stages where they may be falling, and saying to that person, you have a walker in your house, you should use it. And that makes all the difference, because that person really wasn't listening to their child and wasn't using their walker and was getting up and falling all the time. And me coming in and saying, what's going to make a difference in your quality of life is using that walker. So it could be tiny little things, And they could be very, very different, but sort of evaluating the situation at each point and sort of hearing what the problem is, you can really affect how a day goes in a person with Parkinson's, depending on and what you're hearing and kind of actively listening. So that's how I would answer your question.
Thank you. I mean, it's almost thinking as a practitioner in the medical field, it must be tough because as you hear, and I say a lot, every journey is different. That must be even more difficult for the doctor because there's no answer really for the same person. Like we might have migraine, we try one or two things and that'll help, but for Parkinson's, it's so unique, rare, and different. But I appreciate you sharing that. Wanted to now share something very important today, and that's the APDA website, and everyone, I'll share the link so you don't have to write it down if you're listening, but please go to apdaparkinson.org. I'm religiously, this is probably my, honestly, like if I was religious, this would be my religion here. And they just have so many incredible areas. We done the Optimism Walk 5 years now. I'm on the committee here in Boca Raton, and little shout out to Desiree and Rosa and all the incredible team, Luis, who I got to meet at the Unity Walk. So it's really nice that these individuals not just are out there to help with program, but they do become family. And they're always, in June too. So we say hi to everybody out there. But I wanted to know if you could kind of talk us a little bit through some of the things everyone can find on the website. Also, I love that you have your own areas on suggest topics, and you're also always on so gracious enough to be on our show, but other shows. And also, everyone can find a lot more about the doctor here also, but maybe just a kind of virtual quick tour of the site.
Sure. Yeah, we do have a lot on our website. So if you start at the very top bar, what is Parkinson's? If you see that in the dark blue, we have a lot of sort of information. If you are new to Parkinson's, you may want to just start reading about some of the really basics. And we've divided that into some categories that may be helpful, living with Parkinson's as well. And then sort of on the main website, you see call outs to specific virtual shows that we're going to be doing. We have a series which we call Dr. Gilbert Hosts. You see the one on the top at the left. And coming up next week, the topic that we're going to be addressing is Parkinson's disease impact on other medical problems. We get asked this a lot. I have diabetes and Parkinson's. I have cancer and Parkinson's. I have heart disease and Parkinson's. How does that affect my Parkinson's? Because as we have discussed, Parkinson's is a very variable condition and affects all sorts of people. And it has a trajectory, as we discussed, kind of early and all the way to advanced. And as people get older and age with their Parkinson's, they absolutely develop other medical problems. Some people don't. Some people are, a one medical problem person, but commonly that isn't the case. As people get into their 60s, 70s, 80s, they may accumulate medical problems, and that can change how Parkinson's looks. That's another element of the variability of Parkinson's. And so we're going to be sort of addressing that and addressing how to manage more than one problem at once. It's going to be a hard topic to tackle, but I think it'll be a very interesting conversation with a great movement disorder in Georgia called Julie Keurig. So really excited to have her as my guest and discuss that. What you have here is our blog. We address all sorts of topics ranging from medications, symptoms, our research that we fund, history of our organization. Here we have one on early signs of Parkinson's, which we talked about before a little bit. So it really is a varied group of articles. So we put one on the website every 2 weeks. So please check it out frequently, and there's probably something interesting for you to read. And of course, we have a suggest a topic button as well. And I absolutely get every one of those emails and have most definitely done blog topics based on those suggestions. So if you have a good idea to write an article about, send it my way. That would be great. Here we have a way for you to sign up to get lots of our information. We share information about Parkinson's disease and all sorts of our events here. So please feel free to sign up and be part of our community. And I really thank you, George, for explaining how APDA has affected your life, because that is really our goal, is to become part of your ecosystem, that we can really offer something that improves life, and that may be a little bit different than you expect, because you may find that we help you join a community, as you alluded to, that there's other people in your situation around you. You are not the only one going through this, and we think of ourselves as a community builder, a friend builder, even to find others like you who can help you really feel not as alone. And that is a really important part of our mission. And I should mention, at the top dark blue tab, we have a research tab, which we haven't mentioned yet. APDA funds research as well. And we kind of have the same attitude to our funding of research as we do to our funding of programs for people with Parkinson's, in that what we really want to do is bring people into the fold. We want those young researchers who may have not considered studying Parkinson's. They may be in slightly different fields, and we want to lure them to study Parkinson's disease. And funding is a great way to do that. And we really try to seek out those young investigators that need that startup money to get them going, to get their lab going in a meaningful way, to then generate a data that can get them larger grants. So that is our MO in our research funding as well. So wanted to point that out. So thank you for showing us the website.
I appreciate it. And everyone, I've subscribed, of course, 5 years now or more, and please, it's free. You just log on, click here. It takes only a minute, so no excuses, everyone. Also, a very important area, the last one, is find a chapter. I'm lucky enough to have South Florida with Amy and so many amazing individuals, and Desiree, and I'm a part of that. And you get to be a part of committees for the walk, Optimism Walk. And that, I love virtual. I love being here with you. Hopefully one day we'll meet, maybe a World Parkinson Conference, but being with people live, I'll never forget a quick story. Is I was at a table, because we usually have a table just for awareness, and a gentleman was coming over in a wheelchair with his wife. He had a veteran hat, and I thanked him for his service, and he was struggling with Parkinson's. And we actually all looked at each other, all three of us looked at each other, and we all started kind of crying and just hugging, because it was a beautiful moment to know that he's out there and I'm still fighting, and they knew that they're not alone. And that's kind of one that's enriched in my brain and comes to me every day to think about. So everyone, please click find a chapter, and you're not alone, literally, because American Parkinson's Disease Association is around the world. So, it's very important. For some reason it's slow, but click find a chapter and you'll be able to do that. Also, I want to go here, there, it's right there. Pretty simple. I would do a demonstration, but you have to put your zip code and that's it. I'm gonna go back. I might suggest a topic later.
Excellent.
Actually,
Good.
we won't get into it, but I always thought there's one area that we need more for, and that's people like me who lost a loved one due to Parkinson's. I wrote a book recently about it, because I don't have Parkinson's today, no longer a caregiver of someone living, but there's a whole world, I think, a million, like probably 30, 50, 70 million people who do kind of move forward, and I have nothing, they are allowed to, it's reasonable. But there are people like me who don't want to, and we want to make sure that no one has to go through this battle alone or ever be forgotten. So together for Sharon, we have a whole in memory area for interviews of people who lost a loved one. I hope someday there's more to be done, even I picture a division for people like me, and I'll help you start. So,
So I want to comment on that, because I think that's an unmet need. And we have identified that from you and others, who feel like, when their loved one has passed, that where's the space for them. And because of that, we are currently developing a program that can be offered, a multi-week program that can be offered on grieving and Parkinson's disease, really to capture those people who need a space to grieve. And the grieving may be, it doesn't end, that's okay. And sort of acknowledging that, and contextualizing it among other people. So we are actively doing that, and you are definitely part of the inspiration of making that happen. So thank you.
if you need me, I'm always here for you 24/7 for that, because I'm still grieving 5, 6 years later, and the only reason I get through is my family support, but also all of you and everybody listening in the show. That's why I do this. So thanks. And I'd love to be a part of it, whether on your side or the viewer side. And as you can see, everyone go to togetherforsharon.com, click donations. We don't accept anything at Together for Sharon. We just send it to people we believe in. And one of them is the American Parkinson's Disease Association. If you click donate now, we started this 5, 6 years ago, and just it's been growing. My goal before I pass someday is to be at 50,000, and just you can click around, look around. We've had some beautiful also comments and things. It's amazing how it's grown. I wish it didn't have to, but you can see here a lot of incredible people around the world donating. And again, I want to hit 50,000. So till then, selfishly,
Fantastic.
yeah, we won't stop. But as we
That's very impressive.
thanks. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do without all of your support, though. So thank you all. I wanted to shift to I don't like saying final because it's not. I would like to say to be continued because until there's a cure at everybody's doorsteps around the world, we have to keep fighting. But I had a few questions not off topic, but some on the fun side. Can you list 3 words that describe who you are? These are usually the tougher than the regular.
Okay, yeah, these are tough. I would
You
say,
are allowed to pass. You can pass.
t I always say my superpower is time management. So how do I say that in an adjective? I'm really good at time management. That's probably
Perfect. That'll
what's
show
the thing that I'm most proud of. Is that
up.
sad? I'm a mom.
That's
It's another one that I'm super proud of. I have 3 teenage sons that make me very proud. So I love that role. And what's my third? I have 3, and I love to read. So when I'm in my downtime, I read mystery novels.
oh, that's all. I'll have to send you a copy of our book. Well, it won't be a mystery, but it's definitely.
We know yeah, there's no mystery there. But thank you. Yes, it'll be good reading.
The next question, sometimes I say is tough because I feel you probably have many, but is there one moment or most memorable moment that stands out through most of your work with awareness that you can share?
So I'll tell you that my new favorite story. I was giving a talk at one of our conferences, our APDA conferences, and it was talking about medication and how much medications take and whatnot. And afterwards, many people come over to me, ask me questions, and somebody came over to me and said, "How do I know if I'm on the right amount of medication?" And he was very young and had just been diagnosed. And I said with the answer that I usually say, which is, um, uh, can you exercise maximally? You talked about exercise a little bit. We probably should talk about it a little more, how important that is to stay active. And I said, sometimes the way to gauge how much medication to take is, can you exercise really to your most impactful so that you can get all the benefit of exercise? And he said, I used to run marathons. I was a marathon runner, and I can't. I'm not nowhere near doing that. And I said to him, and he looked quite healthy and fit, and um, looked like somebody that potentially could run a marathon. And I said, well, there are people with Parkinson's that run marathons. Maybe that should be your goal. And he started to cry. He started to well up with tears because I don't think he had knew that or had insight that that was something possible for him. But we know people who push themselves after a diagnosis of Parkinson's to kind of get in shape and never ran a marathon and then run marathons after they get diagnosed. So this is a gentleman who would need to just be told that that's possible. So I think that back to our discussion about how variable Parkinson's is, we have to really remember that whole range. But that was a moment that I realized that I made a difference in how he saw himself, and that I think was really a nice moment for me and hopefully for him.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Beautiful. I was wondering, do you have, this is an interesting question, I think. I should probably, maybe it's not. Is there a burning question inside your stomach almost where there's no answer yet, but you want the answer, but you don't ask because you don't think there is a result yet. So is there something kind of in your career and even with awareness that you just really want to know, but again, you just never really thought to push it too much because there's just no answer yet?
Yeah, I would say that yeah, I would say that the thing that kind of keeps me up at night is how much of the kind of deterioration that somebody may experience in their brain or in their nerves, how much can we say kind of must happen because the body deteriorates with age? And how much is preventable? Like, is it possible to live a lifespan and not experience any any of that we attribute to age? Um, and so where's that line? Like, where is that? uh, can we change our expectation? Can we change how we view the aging process in general and expect no deterioration at all? Wouldn't that be nice? So that's sort of the question that I never express because it just seems, just unfair to be saying it out loud to the world. But I think about it. What would be needed? Would science need to accomplish that?
Thank you. Now, who is your hero and inspiration?
I would say it's my mom. She is close to what I just described. She's 86 years old and lives on her own, completely independent, does whatever she needs to do, um, goes all over the place. There's a community center near where she lives, which offers um, all sorts of classes. And at the age of 86, she took Spanish, she took quilt making, always challenging herself, always taking walks, going to the city, meeting people for lunch. I mean,
Mhm.
she's a lot of energy, and she was my inspiration for my previous question.
Thanks. Well, tell her we send our love to her, the whole
Thank
family,
you.
and everyone in your organization who supports you to be able to support so many. As we wrap up, if this is a fun one, but if you were asked to write a script to a movie about your life story, what would you name it, and what actress would play your role?
Oh my
Told you these are
God.
hard hitting questions.
That's a hard one. How about I tried my best,
Yeah.
and the actress would be, um, I'm forgetting her name. The one in Pretty Woman,
Julia Roberts,
Julia Roberts.
a good one.
Julia Roberts
Oh, Miss
played me.
Roberts, if you're watching, please, we'll join you, all three of us, for the next show, and we'll talk about this. Well, I really again want to thank you for your time, friendship, and all you do for some in the past, present, and the future. If you could leave the Parkinson's community today with some words of encouragement, what would they be?
I would say you can be an active participant in your future, um, and just keep that in mind at every stage of the condition, and ask questions and seek out information. And we're here for you.
Thank you. That really means the world to me and so many. I just want to leave you with a message, doctor, and also everyone listening. We love you, we support you, we care a lot about you, and you're never alone. I, along with the doctor and the entire American Parkinson's Disease Association, will advocate for you. And together, I feel our voices are so much stronger. And I always end or conclude the show with I'm just getting started because, as we spoke earlier, some of the tougher days, I've actually had 4 back surgeries and several others. And even through that, the next day I had shoulder surgery. I showed up at the walk for the Parkinson, because I just don't want to miss those inspiring moments. And I realize that we still have work to be done. So I feel together we're definitely reaching the world, and so grateful again for your time today. It means so much.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. Please share this. Please support the American Parkinson's Disease Association at apdaparkinson.org. I'll share all the links. And again, I always say to be continued because we still have work to be done. We send our love and thank you again, doctor, and thank you everybody for listening. We'll see you soon. Love you.
Bye bye. Thank you.